Let's do this. The Cult of Hockey podcast by the faithful and for the faithful. I'm Bruce McCurdy of the Edmonton Journal's Cult of Hockey, and I'm sitting in tonight with our guest podcaster, Ira Cooper, known to many in the Oilogosphere as Original Posar. Great choice of players to name yourself after, Ira, and welcome to the Cult of Hockey podcast. Thanks for contributing.
Oh, thanks, Bruce. Great to be here. Thanks for asking me on.
Yeah, we've got tonight. David's out coaching. David Staples is out coaching. He's coaching his daughter's U18 team. He's the head coach, so that's going to pinch into his schedule a little bit. The games are a little longer at that level too. So, anyways, Ira has most graciously agreed to help out, and we have an exciting, eventful game to discuss tonight. The Edmonton Oilers defeated barely the Anaheim Ducks by the very 1980s score of 6-5, with Oilers coming out on top on a winning goal scored into the empty net. One of those kind of games, wasn't it, Ira?
It really was, but it's actually what we talked about a lot in the offseason, wasn't it? A lot of chaos in the defensive zone, and hopefully they can outscore their mistakes, and they did barely.
Yeah, I managed to do that tonight. The big boys came through with a few points, and it was some good efforts a little further down the lineup as well, and also some not so good efforts down the lineup, and we're going to talk about both of those things. So, as usual, we're going to follow our format of two good things, two bad things, two numbers, and also, as usual, in our traditional style, when the Oilers win, we like to talk more about good things than bad things when they win. So we're going to do two good things each. So we should probably call it four good things, two bad things, because the Oilers are going to win all 82 games this year, is my take at this point. I mean, they can't lose.
Small sample sizes turn into big sample sizes, right?
Yeah, I mean, obviously they got this winning stuff all figured out now, right? Anyway, so let's turn it over to our guest, Ira, for the first good thing. What do you got? What do you got on tap?
I'm gonna go with bludgeoning fan favorite Evan Bouchard. For me, Bouch was the first star of the game. I'm not sure if he was officially the first star. It's kind of tough when McDavid has 3 points and Dry has 4, but Evan Bouchard is quickly right in front of our eyes turning into that player that we thought we were drafting 10th overall a few years ago. That many think actually probably could have done what he's doing now last year. But that's probably a conversation for another night. People always, well, I shouldn't say people always, for a while, one of the biggest criticisms of Bouchard was firstly his skating, but generally his, defensive acumen. And for me, and watching him play, and I watch a lot of him in Bakersfield, he's just such a smart hockey player, and he's a big guy and with lots of length, and you put that size with that brain that you just figure that he's gonna figure out how to play in a defensive zone. He's gonna might make a mistake, but he'll only make it once. And he'll figure out defensive positioning and angles and all that type of stuff, and it's happening, and it's happening quick. He's been playing on the first PK all year long, and he did it again tonight. And tonight, as we saw through the game, he started to gain the trust of his coach even more, as after, or actually at the very end of the second period, not to bash Tyson Barrie like we often
We've been doing.
But this year he's deserved it, and especially tonight, that was a woeful game from Tyson. And Tippett made the change late in the second, and I think Bouchard went up with Nurse and never looked back. And that wasn't just because of Barry's play, but Evan himself was deserving of it. Just to go through his stat line quickly, he actually only ended up fourth amongst third in total ice time, just over 19 minutes. Fourth at 5-on-5 with 14 and a half minutes. But at 5-on-5 in those 14 and a half minutes, he had 4 shots on net, including a goal, 5 block shots, 8 individual Corsi events, and was 2 on goals. Overall, he played just under 20 minutes, golden assist, 6 shots on net, which led the team. And
Yep.
get this, 7 block shots.
I saw that.
The Oilers as a team had 17 block shots.
Mm-hmm.
Bouchard had 7 of them. So I guess he's kind of figuring out defensive zone positioning and how to get into shooting lanes
Yes.
and help out his goalie. And I mentioned earlier that he's playing on the PK. I think the Oilers they took 2 minors, but because of the overlap, they were only shorthanded once. So he had about 50 seconds of that PK, and he did make one really, really solid shot block on that PK that led to a clear. And if we're going to keep talking about his defense, late in the game with about a minute and a half left, I think it was his last shift, there was a scramble in front of Koskinen, and he made kind of the diving stick sweep, and eventually got the big clear there. So, not only we all know about his offensive acumen and his passing and the boost bombs, and we should probably talk about the 2 in a row, but his defensive positioning and just general two-way play was sensational. And of course, there was the 2 boost bombs, with the one where he walked the line and took what must have been close to 100-mile-an-hour shot right off Stolars's noggin. Shockingly, he stayed in the game. And then Boost decided that off the ensuing face-off, about 5 seconds after the play started, he'd take another howitzer on net just to make sure he was still all there. And of course, what we thought was going to be the winning goal, a goal by the second power play unit of all things, just a wonderful intentional shot pass by Bouchard that Cass tipped in. So just an overall amazing game. And I guess the question we'll be talking about between now and Thursday is he going to start beside Nurse? Rob Brown certainly thinks so. Mentioned it after the game on Ched.
Well, it seems possible. I mean, Tyson Barrie's had a really miserable start to the season. He's had 3 poor games in a row, to my eye, and getting beat, getting burned. He got beat wide, just something fierce on the 4th Anaheim goal. The guy just went right around him. So there's that. But also, as you say, it's not just Tyson Barrie getting demoted. It was Evan Bouchard getting promoted because he played so well. And he was he had a goal and assist. Of course, the other one that put the Oilers ahead it was kind of, well, not kind of, it was a fluke, where he was behind the net and the shot got kind of blocked, and he just reached out and chipped it with one hand. And I think it may have hit actually 3 different Anaheim players on its short trip into the net. I think the defenseman nearest him may have got a piece of it as he chipped it. Certainly the second defenseman, for reasons known only to him, tried to make a play on the puck, and he deflected it, and that's what fooled Stolars, who had come off the post, and the defenseman just deflected it right into his skate. And so the third guy it hit was the goalie, Stolars, and into the net it went, and up into the air went Stolars' head, because he was just so upset to give up such a crappy goal in such a crucial situation, tie game in the 3rd period. And for all intents and purposes, it was the game winner, although Leon, of course, got the empty netter. And then Anaheim scored even later than that to again cut it down to a one-goal win. So, yeah, a very good showing for Bouchard. And as I say, his stats are impressive. And, those shot blocks, he's been doing a little bit of that. And I'm thinking it's not a fluke. Like, some guys have that knack. And it's not necessarily guys that are big, tough guys that load up on the hits. They're guys that know where the lanes are and just, are quite happy to stay away. Oscar Klefbom used to block a lot of shots, and going a ways back, Tom Gilbert used to block a lot of shots, and no one would ever confuse Tom Gilbert with a hard rock defenseman, but you don't have to be. You got to be smart, and Bouchard is all of that. And to riff off of the analytics pioneer guru, the baseball's Bill James, who said, or at least was the first one to say to my reading, that speed is the one weapon in baseball that works on both offense and defense. Well, in hockey, smart works at both ends of the rink.
Yeah, and
Evan Bouchard's got smart, and it's just a matter of applying himself to when the other team's got the puck, to reading the game as well as he reads it when his team's got it. And I think he's coming around.
Yeah, and I think you nailed it there. I don't think it's a coincidence that one of his best skills is getting the puck through from the offensive blue line. And on the other side, he's starting to develop a knack for, getting in those lanes. It's his big brain.
Right on. So, well, for my first good thing, I'm going to go with the play of Edmonton Oilers' third line, which included 2 goals from first star Zach Kassian, who was announced in the building as first star. And you're wondering about Bouchard. On the radio, it sounded like they might have given him a star, but in the building, it was Kassian, Sam Steele, Sherwood Park native Sam Steele, who scored a brace for Anaheim, and Leon Draisaitl also scored 2 assists. Measly third star for Leon with that 4-point effort. But I thought Edmonton's third line was a big difference maker tonight, and they got those goals and they got them on merit. They played well. In fact, Cassian's second goal was the rarest of the rare. Oilers' second unit connecting for a power play goal, which I think they had 5 in the last 2 years, if my memory is correct.
I think that's right.
I think they had 99 power play goals in the last 2 years, and Leon had been on the ice for 94 of them.
Yeah, and they've got a few. David wasn't because he was injured a few times.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Leon's kind of my benchmark for the first power play unit. When he's out there, that's the first unit. And when he goes off, usually McDavid goes off too, right? So anyway, that third line, who really grabbed my eye tonight? Warren Fogle.
Yep.
And I thought he was excellent. And full disclosure, I attended this game. I was sitting high in the end zone, behind the goal in which Edmonton scored all 6 of their goals. Thank you, Oilers. That was kind. And they Fogle, though he was all over the place and in a good way. Like he was checking hard. He was energetic, and he had a pretty decent showing. Like he played 14 minutes. For the first time, even though it was only 1 penalty kill, he was a part of the unit. They threw out the third pair of Fogle with Devon Shore, who was playing his first game of the season. And up till then, we'd had just two pairs of penalty killing forwards. And tonight they used 3 in that one thing, and he looked perfectly good there. But they had, you want to talk about dominating on shots. When Fogle was on the ice, the Oilers outshot the Ducks 11-3, 10-3 for Derek Ryan, 9-3 for Kassian. But same difference. They were all out there and scoring chances. When Fogle was on the ice, 12 for Edmonton, 4 for Anaheim, and 6-1 in the high danger chances, which are at the Cult of Hockey, our equivalent is grade A chances. And of course, Natural Stat Trick that provides these automated metrics, they do it a little bit different. Many of the chances overlap, but they don't all. But usually if a player dominates in scoring chances on the one, he's apt to do so in the other as well. Anyway, Fogle caught my eye specifically of that third line, but obviously Zach Kassian had a pretty good game with 2 goals and 5 hits. And, they helped turn the game in Edmonton's favor when they were on the ice, and that was a huge part of the win.
Yeah, and I think that's the second game now where that line scored a big 5-on-5 goal. Derek Ryan had a big goal the other. Yep. And this one, that goal was actually, it was kind of I don't think Ryan was on the ice. It was actually Nuge. It was kind of a hybrid second to third line goal.
It was a line change.
And that 1+, I'll talk about it in a little bit, did very little to save Nuge's stat line tonight, because we'll talk about the second line in a bit, but that third line, and Warren Fogle, and he is good. He's just he's big and he's strong, and he takes good angles to the puck. I don't know how great he is with the puck on a stick. I've seen him try a few plays, but he doesn't need to have the puck on a stick. And if we're going to talk about the line, if this is what we're going to get from Zach Kassian the last 2 or 3 games,
bring it on.
Then bring it on, because you still see it. He still makes at least 1 or 2 weak plays in the defensive zone, generally on the boards. Generally, it seems like it's an effort thing, but that's just going to happen. Last year, he was doing that and he wasn't bringing anything in any other zone. He went something, I think I got this stat from you. It was like 12 games with like one shot attempt last year or something along those lines. But
he had, yeah.
He's engaged, he's making plays in the offensive zone, and he's contributing, and that entire line, is that's a third line that's gonna create energy, keep energy, chip in the odd goal, make the few odd defensive mistakes, but generally pretty good.
Mhm.
It's been years.
Yeah, I'll say. Yeah, he co-led the Oilers with 3 shots on net tonight, and last year, as I say, many times he had none, and many times he had not even a shot attempt in the game. Like he was, and I mean, tonight he scored as many goals tonight as he scored all season.
Yeah.
Last year, 2 goals. So
Maybe
welcome back to the score sheet, Zach. More, please. This is what he's capable of doing, and honestly what fans expect from him. And when he does contribute, I can tell you he's one popular player in that building. He was getting some big cheers in tonight's game, and when they interviewed him post game and stuff, it was good to see, because he's a guy clearly after last season really needed a boost. And to his credit, I mean, he's boosted his own game, and the fans support him when he's going good. And I think he was a player who was singled out quite often as a guy who missed the fans. And if what we've seen so far is any indication, he's happy they're back. And I'm pretty sure the fans are happy he's back, because he's stood up in a big way and chipped in these last 2 wins in particular.
And to his credit, we kind of maybe saw a bit of it in the playoffs last year, where he had one really good game and one okay game, and for him to have a good game and an okay game last year, that was a step in the right direction.
Yeah.
So stay healthy, Zach, and if you bring that, you're a man that's loved and hated by many in the community. So it's a consistency thing. So hopefully we see good casts for a longer stretch of time.
What do you got for a second good thing?
If you can believe it, the Oiler Logosphere might not agree with me, but I'm going to say Dave Tippett. The man takes enough criticism for pretty much every decision that he makes, even before it's gone good or gone bad, that I thought tonight he did a few things that really helped lead to the win. I'll preface this by saying that I am one of those guys, understanding how dynamic Leon and McDavid can be and generally are together, that I generally am against starting them together for games, mainly because it takes away the putting them together as a coaching strategy in game. I find that, if they're playing on separate lines and things aren't going well, or just even if they are going okay and it's after a penalty kill or a TV timeout or an icing, you put them together, they almost are extremely dynamic for a couple shifts. So when he doesn't have the option of putting them together, what does he do when when the team's flat or the team needs a change in momentum? And I wouldn't say that they were flat tonight. They certainly had their issues, especially in the defensive zone. It was a back and forth game, so it wasn't like he needed to create an energy boost or anything like that. But after that second period, I think the Oilers had 17 shots, but that was a terrible period. They were giving the puck away. They were running around. They were going walkabout and then puck chasing and leaving the high danger area. But there was 2 particular areas of the game that I thought were quite poor, and we're going to talk about one of them in a bit. But it was the second line was terrible, and Tyson Barrie was terrible. And at the end of the second period, he made 2 changes. He made one change at the end of the second, where he took Tyson Barrie, moved him down to the third pair, and promoted Evan Bouchard. And then for the third period, he took Kyler Yamamoto off the second line and switched him up with Brandon Perlini. And there were just 2 little changes where he identified 2 areas where the team was really struggling and decided to make a change. And we saw, like, the third period was just generally a much better period, even though there was still some chaos. And that second line still wasn't great, but they were a lot better than they were in the first two. And I'll talk about those numbers in a little bit. They were at least playable in the third period. So I thought that coaching change with the deployment was quite good. The other thing that he did was he actually used the second power play, and he was rewarded with them scoring that massive, I believe, was it the tying goal?
4-4 goal, yeah.
Yeah, it was the 4-4 goal, and it was, various, like Bouchard had made a couple of nice plays on the PP even before the shot pass, and Cassian in front, and even Turris, I think made the zone entry, and Cassian and Puljujarvi being kind of the double net front presence, which is a bit rare. But even before that PP2 goal, they had a power play shift. They started a power play, I believe, earlier in the game, and they didn't score, but they actually had 40 seconds of solid offensive zone possession.
And Turris took a penalty.
And then Turris took the penalty, but he made a couple decent plays.
Yeah, no, it was a decent look, and that was a good call. In that the first unit had just played a ton of power play time because there was a bunch of penalties in a row that got called there, and then it was a 4-on-4, and Leon and Connor probably played 4 of the first 5 minutes, and so Tippett's thinking was use the second unit for the first 30 or 40 seconds and then get the boys back out there with a little bit of air in their lungs. And of course that didn't happen because of the penalty, but they it was a good decision.
Right, and what normally probably might have happened last year is either he'd put the first unit out tired, or maybe he'd use the timeout if he remembered that he had one to rest them. And that was the other thing Tippett did today, was prove to everybody that he does know that there is one timeout available, and he used it at an interesting time for kind of a defensive rest.
Yes.
He wanted the right guys out there for that late draw, and they were rewarded. McDavid was fresh. He made a great defensive play, and up to Hyman, who sent Leon in for the easy, what we thought was insurance goal, but turned out to be the game win. So overall, even though I don't necessarily agree with the load up nuclear option to start games, and frankly, that line, I think they were 2-2 goals tonight, but they're who they are, so they're gonna have dynamic moments and dynamic shifts. But through 3 games, I don't think they're as dynamic as they can be. And given how poor the second line was today, and that we're going on the road, I'm not entirely sure that he won't make a bigger change, although it's kind of tough. What is it? 9 points for McDavid, 8 points for Dry, something along those lines, and 6 for Jesse through 3 games. Much on the power play, but still, it's they're getting their points.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I like to see the boys together because they've got. I got both of them in my keeper league.
David and Dry in a keeper league?
I got McDavid and Draisaitl in the keeper league that I won last year. Yeah. So that's I enjoy seeing them together because so often you see scoring play where both guys get a point at the same time. So so from a selfish standpoint, I never minded too much when they put them together, but from a team perspective, I'm basically in your camp that I would prefer to start with them separate and keep my options open, because you never seem to see this option that the Oilers are, they're playing together, and the Oilers have built up a 3 or say 4-1 lead, like in Winnipeg, say, where, okay, now we've got the lead. Now we'll split them up so we can defend the lead with 2 strong centers. And that has never been part of the equation for any coach. Once they're together, they stay together. So for that reason, I prefer they start apart. No, I'm sure we'll see plenty of both this year, as we have for the last 5 years. It's been 40 to 60% of their time is together, and the other 60 to 40% is apart. Basically, it's been the formula for 3 different coaches over 5 seasons. So it's a thing.
60% include power play, or is that just 5?
No, that's 5-on-5 time only.
Yeah.
So a power play, they're always together. So
yeah.
And overtime, they're most often together. So good thing and my bad thing are both kind of related, so I'm just going to bring them both up at once and leave your bad thing for next. But they both have to do with goaltending. My second good thing is Mikko Koskinen, who came in at the middle TV timeout of the second period to finish up the game. It was a little bit of a surprise. They never announced it in the building, but I was sitting behind that net, and I noticed right away it was Mikko that came out. And I was scanning the bench for Smith for the rest of the game. Never saw him again, so I thought, no, he's hurt. And that's my bad thing, of course, is Mike Smith had a tough game, and he got hurt. And I don't know when in the game he got hurt. That a couple of those goals that he was kind of sluggish on to me, covering the short side on the 3-3 goal. And then the guy just beat him clean across the front of the net, Sam Steele, on the 4-3 goal. And then he pulled himself out at the next TV timeout. And so somewhere in there, he tweaked something. The good news is in the post-game tip, it says, we're calling it day to day and we'll know more tomorrow. But he tweaked something and he didn't want to make it worse, so out he came. So who knows how long he did stay in the game making it worse, but he did pull himself out. And when he did, Mikko Koskinen came in, and he was terrific. I thought he was really good. And he faced 21 shots, and only the 21st shot did he have a 2-goal lead that he could afford to let it in, and he did. Yeah. But he stopped 20 in a row with the Oilers either down by 1, tied, or up by 1. And a number of fine saves, terrific toe save with just over a minute on the clock with the 6-on-5, and a rebound shot, and the guy looked like he stuck it just inside the far post. It was labeled, and Koskinen stretched with his 6'7" worth of stretch, and got a skate on it to kick that one out. A few strong saves, but I just thought he was composed. He was tracking the puck well. He wasn't giving out greasy rebounds, and he looked mostly solid, with the one exception of the time he tried to handle the puck behind the net. And that was at the far end for me, so I didn't get a great look at it. And but you did on TV, so why don't you tell me what happened?
Oh man, yeah. So he went to play the puck, and I think it was blocked by the forechecking attacker, and it popped out in front, and it was ricocheted, and it was heading into the net, and Bruce, I don't think it could have been any closer to a goal without being a goal. It was about 98% past the line. And who else but Connor McDavid made the save of the night. And you think that, like people do it, they get the puck off the goal line like it happens. But this was an elite level get the puck off the goal line, because he had to go over the puck quickly and then back, so he didn't push it in the net first. Right. Like it, the McDavid's fast hands. I bet you, he scores goals that only McDavid can score. That was a defensive play that probably only like 5% of the people in the league could make, because he had to have such quick hands. But it really was that close. So once you have a chance to see the replay, you'll see what I'm talking about.
So in addition to a goal and 2 assists in 25 minutes ice time, McDavid also had the save of the game. Yeah. And with all that, we can say it was just kind of an average game for Connor. Like, he wasn't really on top of his game. He wasn't to me. Like, he wasn't all over the place with the puck, and his moves weren't really working all that well, but the results are still there. And Gretzky used to do that, and I mean, most of the time he was on top of his game, but sometimes he'd come out and he'd have a game where, it wasn't really working for him. And then you look at the stat sheet after, and it'd be like this: goal, 2 assists, 3 points. And how do you do that?
And it's been like that all year, I think, with McDavid. And, he's still the best player on the ice pretty much every night, but he's not nearly at peak McDavid. He goes through stretches of 4, 5, 6 games where pretty much, every shift or every second shift, he's creating a dynamic scoring chance. And I'm not saying he's playing bad, clearly. Like, he's got 9 points in 3 games, something like that. He's fantastic, but he's not at mid-season form. I believe he had 1 5-point before tonight. So it's scary that, this type of production, and I'd say he's at 75% of I'm filling in for Dave, and Dave loves to use percentages for everything. Okay. Right. So I'll go with he's at 75% of what he can bring. I agree.
So in other words, fantastic, but not quite as otherworldly as we know, as we've seen, and and with moments. I mean, that burst of speed tonight to catch up to that pass. Anyway, back to my good and bad things. The two goalies, Mike Smith. No doubt there's second guessers out there saying, "Damn it, Dave Tippett, you overworked Mike Smith. We warned you about that. You started him 3 games in a row, and now he's gone and got hurt." And I will say this in defense of Dave Tippett: the way the schedule started to open the season, 2 days off after the first game, 2 days off after the second game, and it was all set up that I think they had it set up that Koskinen for sure was going to play in Arizona on Thursday, and they come back with Smith on Friday, 2 more days off, and then they had a 5-day gap.
Yeah.
So the other choice was, after Smith was fantastic in the first 2 games, credit where due, this week with the back-to-back, tonight's game was the odd game. And are you going to use your backup in 2 out of 3, or are you going to use your starter in 2 out of 3? So he went to his starter, and whatever happened, he tweaked something, and he's out. Hopefully not for long. If he is out for long, well, Stuart Skinner is a lot closer to being an NHL goalie now than he was this time last year when he was caddying for Koskinen while Smith was on IR to start the season. So a little more confident in the goaltending, and I'm also more confident in Mikko Koskinen. I think he's way more on top of his game this year than he was to start out last year.
Yeah, 100%. I've been posting that exact defense of Tippett starting Smith. You don't want Mikko. Well, you didn't want Mikko starting 2 or 3. You didn't want Smith. If he didn't play tonight, and they were split in the back-to-backs, he'd have like 1 start in 12 days or something along those lines.
Yeah, it was a gap for sure.
And Sportsnet did find what they think happened to Smith. But it was kind of it didn't look like much, but Smith was kind of on his belly, like he used to be all the time. But it was a play coming across the crease, and it was Devon Shore there was like a bit of a scrum, and he kind of fell on him a little bit, and he got up kind of gingerly. So to tell you the truth, what I listened to Tippett after the game and heard the same thing that you did, that they day-to-day, but he's going to see the doctors tomorrow. I think we're going to see Smith and Skinner, Koskinen and Skinner in Thursday, Friday. And I watched all of the second Bakersfield game on Sunday. The first one was at the exact same time as the Oilers game. Right. So he was fantastic in the shutout on Sunday. So if he does come up with the camp he had and coming off that shutout, he'll at least be fully confident. So we'll see. I've said all along when people are saying we're one Mike Smith injury away from disaster, I'm like, if it's 3 weeks or so, and Koskinen has to start a bunch of games, and we have a third stringer.
He doesn't have to start all the games, which was the thinking last year. And that's what got him in trouble.
If Smith's out for 6 months, then we got a problem. Yeah. Likely.
Well, Skinner on Sunday, Bakersfield got outshot 34-15 and won 1-0. Your goalie.
You know who they could on their forwards? Kirill Maximov.
Yeah.
Why he wasn't playing? Well, obviously there's more to that story, but
yeah. I wonder if we're going to find out that full story. But whatever, he's gone, and it's unfortunate. So, Ira, your bad thing.
I alluded to it.
Oh, look at those notes! Holy, you're a lawyer, aren't you?
I don't get paid by the word though, so my bad thing. And for a victory and a team that's 3-0 to start the year with 3 division wins, there's lots of potential bad things to choose from. But I'm going to go with the second line as a whole, and well, I guess the initial second line, because it got changed in the third period. So the Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, Zach Hyman, Kyler Yamamoto line through 2 periods. They only had 6 minutes and 52 seconds, I believe, at 5-5. Or is that through 1 period? But they were Corsi events as a line, 1-4, 10 against, individually, and 0 goals for, 2 goals against. And these guys Hyman finished with 0 goals for, 4 goals against, 23% Corsi. 620, 6-4, 20 against. Nuge was 1 goal for, 3 against. Remember, that goal was scored with the third line.
Right.
23% Corsi. Yamamoto, 0 goals for, 3 goals against, 13.3% Corsi. They just got caved all night long.
Yeah.
And it's not just that they got caved and then got scored on. They're making bad mistakes in all 3 zones. Yeah, after one of their very few offensive zone shifts, Yamamoto made just a poor play, pushing the puck out front of the net to nobody when everybody was down low, and it led to a 3-on-2 the other way and the Ducks' 3rd goal. Even on the power play, Nugent Hopkins, there was one play in that power play in the 3rd period, the puck came across to him on the left side where he normally is. I swear to God, he had a wide open net, and he decided to delay and put it back through the middle. And it would have been a gorgeous goal if it would have connected, but the puck just went into the corner. So just overall, as a line, they became so unplayable that Tippett had to switch it up, put Yamamoto, who was frankly no worse than Hyman or Nuge, in my opinion, at evens, but he's kind of the scapegoat of the team this year so far, and put up Perlini. And that line of Perlini, Nuge, and Hyman, they weren't great in the 3rd period, but they didn't get scored against, and I think it was a 4-5 Corsi event, so they didn't get caved. So whatever that coaching move by Tippett at least made the line playable so that they were able to play out the line. So I don't think that line is like Nuge had the even strength point tonight, but it was really on a line change when he was still out there with the 3rd line. In 3 games, I don't think that line has a 5-on-5 goal yet. So although all 3 players I like, something isn't working with the 3 of them. Tippett recognized that tonight, obviously. Who knows what he starts with on Thursday? If there's a practice tomorrow, we'll probably get some sort of guidance on that. I don't think he's going to change the first line. So maybe you see, I don't know if you see Perlini back there, but I don't think he'll change that 3rd line after tonight. So I don't think you'll see Warren or Fogle or Cassian get elevated. So I have a feeling we'll go right back to where we started. But that line's had its moments through 3 games, but they were awful tonight and became almost unplayable. Like Zach Hyman, who's been the darling of Oilers, oil country, 0-4 goals, 23% Corsi. That's a tough night.
Yeah, there's a mistake in there because he was on for an Oiler goal with the goalie out, which they don't count as 5-on-5, but he was also on for an Anaheim goal with the goalie out, which shouldn't also count as 5-on-5. So he was only 0-3 at a real 5-on-5.
Thank you.
And he did get a point on the empty netter, and he was involved in the net front on a power play goal. Yep. And Nuge got 2 assists, including a beautiful pass to Cassian. That was a gorgeous. Yeah. That was a first assist for Nuge that was so hard to come by last year. Well, that was a fully earned one. That pass made that goal. Yamamoto, on the other hand, didn't have anything really that redeemed his night. Defensively, he struggled mightily, and that 3-3 goal that you talked about, not only did he make the play deep in the other territory, but he was the forward back on the 3-on-2, and he kind of hustled to get close to the play, and then around the blue line he stopped skating. It was two-footed skating, gliding, watching the play, and what he had to do was bust his ass all the way back to cut off that passing lane, and instead the pass came across to the open man, and guess what? He scored. And I don't think that in particular will sit well with Dave Tippett. Yeah. So we'll see.
And it's interesting too, because one of the things I always talk about is even when Yamamoto's not producing, he is looking like he's turning into an elite 2-way defensive player, at least in the top 6, because whether, he spent quite a bit of time with McDavid last year. I think Dave likes to call it the 81% line or whatever it was. And of course, we know how much he's played with Dry, and they don't get scored against, no matter who he's with. And part of it is he's just as tenacious on the back check and finishing the back check and positionally as he is in the offensive zone. But as you point out, he wasn't tonight. And thanks for pointing out that Hyman and Nuge did have their positive points, so I don't want to rag on them too much. Just the line as a trio hasn't done it through 3 games except for a few moments, and was quite poor tonight, in my opinion.
Yep, no argument on the poor tonight part, and especially when the threesome was together 5-on-5, they got caved. Right across the board: shot attempts, shots, scoring chances, high danger chances, goals. They got clobbered.
The sum of their parts was less than the parts themselves individually.
So carrying on, let's move on to numbers, and you go first this time.
Lots of numbers to come up with again, but I'm going to go with the number 8. And that represents the number of periods that it took for 2 burning questions in oil country to be answered. The first one is how long until Yamamoto's moved off the second line, and how long until Evan Bouchard is moved up the lineup into, if not the top 4 tonight, the top pairing. I think lots thought that Bouch might be there by Christmas. It took 8 periods. And even before tonight, there was the odd time in defensive situations, mainly where Tip or Playfair moved Bouchard up, but he was up there at the end of the second period, 8 periods into the season for the entire rest of the game, and was just as dynamic and good in both ends of the ice in the third period as he was down below. And Yamamoto, as we just talked about, moved off for Perlini, right after 8 periods for the third period tonight. So I have a feeling we'll see Yamamoto back there on Thursday, unless they're going to put Tyler Benson in the lineup and make a bigger shuffle somehow. I just don't see them breaking up the third line or the first line, and I'm not sure Kip's willing to move Perlini up there full time yet, but we'll see. So those 2 questions have at least been answered in the short term. So my number is 8 periods.
Okay, 8's also the number of points each for McDavid and Draisaitl through 3 games with both guys. I think most fans would say they're not on top of their games. But 8 points each in 3 games. That's a pretty decent platform to build off of for another fantastic season for the NHL's top 2 scorers in each of the last 2 seasons. So let's see how that goes. Okay, my number, I'm going to also segue to Leon Draisaitl, his line of numbers tonight. I mean, we'll start with his boxcars: 2 goals, 2 assists, 4 points, plus 2. 25 minutes and 49 seconds of ice time. 3 shots, 6 shot attempts to lead all forwards, 3 giveaways, and that's a negative. He had 1 giveaway tried to make a hard backhand pass to break out of the zone that got picked off at the blue line after the Oilers had spent too much time in their own end, and I bet you Dave Tippett will be all over him for that. It was one of those, it's all or nothing, and this one was nothing pretty quick. 20 face-off wins to 9 losses. 20 out of 29 for 69%. The Oilers took 58 face-offs tonight. Leon took half of them.
And they got caved, if I can recall. I think Derek Ryan was above, but other than that, they were awful. Leon propped them up quite a bit.
They were 16 and 17 without, and 20 and 9 with Leon on the ice. So that's a for another night at the office kind of night for Leon. I mean, that's some pretty staggering volume, including that ice time. McDavid similar, 25 minutes, 42 seconds. And just one bonus number that we can discuss briefly on our parting shot here: 14,082 tonight's attendance at Rogers Place. And I was noticing the sort of the wide swaths of empty seats in 4 or 5 sections of the upper bowl, where sometimes you see empties here and there, and maybe it's people that didn't show up right, or the last few tickets that didn't get sold. But when you see like rows of empty seats, those generally mean unsold. And I was kind of worried, or at least interested, to see what would happen tonight. This kind of a linchpin game. I mean, you have the season opener against Vancouver, and what was there, 16,000 for that. and then Calgary Saturday night in hockey in Canada, 17. I'm not sure if that was official sellout. I can't remember what the number is because it's been zero for so damn long in attendance.
17 and a half, give or take,
Yeah, yeah.
17,450.
But tonight they're saying 14,000, and I'm willing to say that I don't think there was that many people in the building. That would be the number of sold tickets. There are people that have tickets that aren't quite ready to be in the barn yet. And anyway, it was so kind of, Tuesday night in October against Anaheim is one of those tests that's very different from Saturday night against Calgary and Hockey Night Canada. And I knew that it would be a little bit lighter tonight, and that was the number. So
it's a little bit demoralizing. I think I read or heard something about 5,000 in Buffalo.
I heard 10,000 season tickets did not renew in Buffalo. 10,000.
Yeah. But on a plus note, they beat Vancouver 5-2. So, so I believe Buffalo tied with the Oilers for the NHL lead 3-0. So I think
Buffalo.
there's four teams left that are 3-0 that are 3-0. So
unreal. Well, the Oilers are one of them, and for all of the doom and gloom in oil country about each performance, that this is wrong and that's wrong and this isn't working and this coach and the GM don't know what they're doing and on it goes. The team is 3-0. I mean, I didn't love tonight's game as a fan, but I sure appreciated the comeback in the third period, and we'll take the 2 points. As Dave Tippett said in the post game, they're not all masterpieces. And as I want to say, some games you paint a Rembrandt, and other games you paint the bathroom. And this was one where you call it the latter, but you take the 2 points and you put them in the bank, and you move on to Thursday night in Arizona and take the show on the road. Oilers will be playing in the United States for the first time in
March 2019,
early March 2020.
Yeah, and you got to attend the first 2 anthem game for the Oilers since time as well. So that was when I heard, I'm like, 2 anthems, let's start. But I'm like, oh wait, 2 anthems, that's actually a good thing.
Well, it means that the league is starting to open wide again, and the fact there's fans in the building at all, and generally well-behaved fans in the games I'm at. People wearing their masks and doing their thing in the places I've been sitting, which is 2 very different parts of the building in 2 games so far. So, and you're if you're consuming food and drink, and of course some people are consuming especially drink for much of the game, but otherwise people seem to be abiding by the rules and good. I mean, that's what the safety experts deem is the best way that this is going to work for us.
For sure, and let's just hope that as the season goes on, there's good reason for people to feel more comfortable. If that is the reason that they're staying away, there's a multitude of reasons. And with a good team and hopefully getting past this 4th wave, and hopefully it's the last wave. And back come the new year, it's going to the stretch drive for a playoff run with a full building every night.
All right. Well, let's leave it there, Ivor, with my thanks again to you for filling in for David tonight and giving us your viewpoint from down there in Calgary, is it?
Yep, down in Calgary. Enemy territory.
Oiler fan living in Calgary. That's you got to be tough. Tough.
There's quite a few of us here for sure.
Yeah. Anyways, thank you again for your contributions tonight. And I will say thanks to you, the audience, for listening. And in the meantime and in between times, this has been another edition of the Cult of Hockey podcast.